Behind Northern Ireland's streets and fences lie some amazing hidden gardens. Private spaces with passionate owners open just a few days a year. Now, two top gardening experts, Dermot Gavin and Helen Dillon, are going to be searching for the best. They'll be looking for great design.
This is the contented garden.
It's a gin and tonic garden, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Beautiful planting.
It's a bit kind of roundabouty.
That's terribly depressing.
And great gardening practice.
Oh, this is heaven.
This is my deadly enemy.
Absolutely awful.
As the nervous owners wait inside for the verdict.
Hopefully they'll be kind to us. I'm anxious about what they think about my planting and my choice, and do they think I'm totally mad?
This time, 3 gardens created out of nothing.
If you gave me a skip, I could improve this garden.
I'm afraid it was very Parks Department.
So, which garden will be best? First stop is the Georgian town centre of Hillsborough in County Down. Today, the high street is deserted. There's a special visit looming.
They have the bunting out. They knew you were coming.
No, they put it up for you, Dermot. I know that.
They've put it up for the Queen. What are you trying to say?
That's why there's not much traffic.
She likes her garden, does the Queen.
She loves gardening. Isn't that nice? Gardening and racing.
Through an ordinary high street archway lies something totally unexpected. Artist Dawn Mitchell has spent more than a quarter of a century turning a total wasteland into a magical garden.
Sometimes people come in and go, oh, did you buy it like this? And sadly not. It took a lot of work.
She still works hard at it.
4 hours a day, say whichever, and people go, oh my word, but I don't really notice it, really.
Dawn has created a series of what she calls rooms. The first is an area for entertaining guests. It has a small central lawn surrounded by packed herbaceous borders and lots of little pathways tempting you on.
It's just organically grown, I suppose, and I'm a bit of a romantic and I'm an artist as well, so as something else appears, I make another little area.
Through one of the archways, she has created a second area for relaxation and meditation. Then another archway leads to her third room, based on Victorian garden designs and dominated at one end by a huge gunnera.
The gardens that mean most to me are gardens that hold me, that I don't want to leave. I want to sit, I want to linger, I want to see what's round a little corner. And I think that's what makes basically a long, straight Georgian plot interesting, the little rooms and the little meandering paths.
Dermot Gavin is one of the UK's top garden designers and has won gold at Chelsea. Top gardening author Helen Dillon owns Ireland's most famous private garden. Together they will argue over the garden as Dawn waits inside.
It's very odd feeling that 2 wonderful gardeners are in my garden and I'm not there with them. I'm interested to hear what they think and what they feel, and do they think I'm totally mad?
Straight off the street is a fuchsia arch.
Isn't this beautiful, Helen, the way the fuchsia is creating an archway at the entrance?
I love this fuchsia because it's the pale pink form of the one that's naturalised all over Ireland. But this pale one is absolutely adorable, and it's happy anywhere and tough as a boot. Everybody thinks it's Irish, but it's not. It comes from Chile, and this is a beautiful foreigner.
And that really is all about gardening in this country. We really appreciate aliens, plants coming in from distant lands.
Exactly, and people never say how wonderful Ireland is for the astonishing range of kit we can grow, despite being geographically the same level as Newfoundland.
They're impressed by the entrance, but what about the first of Dawn's garden rooms for entertaining?
And on to the beautiful little patch of green lawn.
It's just a glade, a grass.
And the other thing I think this garden has got, I think it's got huge charm.
And it's very clever the way, OK, we're standing at the centre of the circular lawn, and yet there's pathways bringing you, teasing you, really everywhere. And that is so important in any size garden.
Before exploring the pathways, Dermot has an issue with a plant pot.
This is nitpicking, OK? I know it's nitpicking. I love containers. I think they certainly have a place. They make wonderful focal points. But if I was having a container here, I would have a large kind of long tom pot in terracotta. None of this kind of Indonesian glazed
There's
stuff.
no need to give it a good kick, dear boy.
The first room may have fallen on the pots, but what about the second? This is supposed to be more tranquil, with statues and lots of seating options.
I think this is a really beautiful bit. It gets better and better. But the stark whiteness of the seats, although they're wonderful seats, I think they jump out at you.
Dump
White
is
is
such a
awfully
stick.
strong colour.
You're such a stick in the mud, Helen.
I'm not a stick in the mud.
You are.
You don't want to sit there and show off gently in your little tent, your private tent.
It works.
My only problem is the colour, not the lovely swingy things that I'm longing to lie down in, but if somebody of my age gets into that, it's never going to get out again. I think it's very welcoming to the visitor. There's all these seats all over the garden saying, please sit down and enjoy my garden, just like I do.
That's right.
Which is very attractive.
It's a gin and tonic garden,
Isn't it? It is.
Do you know what I adore? Come here, you. Do you know what I adore about this garden?
What?
I adore the fact that there are some of the most common garden plants that everybody would be familiar with. Just repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. There's about 20 plants. Geraniums, choices, roses, hydrangeas, aquilegias, and you see them everywhere you look.
Yeah.
Then there's the occasional spark like that blue Meconopsis. So anybody could create this garden. All these plants want to grow in our gardens.
It doesn't depend on choice plants. It depends on lovely floating, flowing design with lovely mixes of easy plants that are not going to let you down and the odd delicious delicacy.
The third and final compartment of Dawn's garden is her Victorian sanctuary.
Look at this.
My goodness me.
Oh, this is high Victoriana, isn't it?
And a lovely Victorian sort of hideaway.
Oh, this is heaven. Laurel. Look at that pond.
And look at your man up the end there. Big, happy gunnera, an enormous gunnera with 6-8 foot leaves. That has to be in water. It has to be in water. It couldn't be that big.
Well, I've seen them grow. If it's damp, it'll grow. Maybe they dug out and they lined it with plastic.
Well, I want to see how
lots
it's
of
done
humus
because I want to
material.
copy that. Just hang on a minute.
This has gone up the creek without a paddle.
I tell you what this is. It's heavenly cool, damp pie.
Dr. Livingstone, I presume.
Yes, listen. Feel that. Feel that. It's lovely. Lovely, lovely damp stuff. Lovely damp stuff. No wonder it's doing so well. Now, Dermot, what do you think of these containers?
I think they're equally hideous.
Well, you're a naughty boy, but I agree.
Do you know, you just realise the importance of where you place seats. The view that's framed up there through that tunnel. It's pure delight. You know, Helen, this isn't the type of garden I design or I plant or I kind of create in my head. It is, though, the type of garden that I absolutely love.
Me too.
Well, here we go.
At last, it's time for Dawn to be put out of her misery.
It takes real imagination to see a spot that's completely bare and have a vision of how it's going to turn out.
I made a few big mistakes at the start, buying a beautiful plant I loved and putting it where I wanted it. Then realising you have to look at those plants and see where they want to be, and the position, the planting, all of that. Something would sit and wither at the side here and it would be wonderful over here. So just sitting and saying, if you're doing a garden, go and sit and find out where the birds are, where the sun is, where the damp patch is, where the dry patch is, and then love that and work with that, and then you get a wonderful garden.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Dawn, have you got any tips for people starting with a relatively big garden and an empty palette?
Slugs and snails, love it here. And when I pick 20 or 100 off the hostas, I think they're gone, and of course they're not gone.
What do you actually do about the slugs and snails?
I actually get a full clove of garlic, put it in a large pot of water.
I mean, one clove or a whole,
a bulb, and set it in a big pot of water and let it bubble and simmer and get lovely thick garlicky water and put it down, and the slugs and the snails don't like that.
Do they die or do they run off and hide?
They don't like it. I think they disappear. I don't see any dead ones.
That's incredibly useful advice because it isn't putting out any poison that would be damaging to your dogs.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Dermot and Helen are going to be judging which of 3 gardens is best at the end of the programme. The next is in Carrowdore, just outside Grey Abbey in County Down. Richard and Beverly Britton have transformed an old quarry into 3 acres of fairy woodland trails. These surround a stunning central strip of lawn leading to a pond they created out of the quarry, which provided stone for airfields in World War II.
It's been quite a lot of work just to clear the site and sort of make it halfway presentable.
Since buying the site 15 years ago, Civil servant Richard and teacher Beverly have tried hard to make use of local materials.
There's an old dump across the road from us, and the dump owner allowed us to go in and scavenge, get various bits of rock and other bits and pieces out of it.
Which earned us the nickname Stig of the Dump from some of our neighbours.
Richard is particularly proud of salvaging a collection of wrought iron gates.
We got them fixed and again painted them out. Again, just a point of interest within the garden. You're going from one part of the garden into another part. It's nice just to go through the gate.
Beverly is the muscle of the team.
We had a lot of natural stone, and I like building the stone walls. Well, I think I've the biggest biceps in Grey Abbey at the moment.
And she has an eye for a bargain.
We do tend to go to some of the local places and look at the reduced section.
But the biggest cost of all is the time the garden demands.
We spend a few hours every Saturday and every Sunday in the garden, and then evenings as well in the summertime.
So what will Dermot and Helen make of our Stigs of the Dump?
Hope we don't slip on the brick steps. Hopefully they'll be kind to us at the end of the day. Just enjoy it, hopefully.
Straight away, Dermot sees something he doesn't like. The driveway.
It's pure magic, Helen. It's a theatrical set. I've rarely seen such a nice view in a garden, but I want to change it.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
I'll tell you why. I'd get rid of the driveway. I don't know what I'd do. Maybe grass it. And I would have a formal rectangular lawn there. Wonderful borders on either side. Maybe the only formal part of this garden.
So you've got the incredible formality in the wilderness.
Carved out.
Yes, and carved out.
The garden features thousands of purple and white foxgloves, mostly grown from seed by Beverly.
I'll have to just tell you one thing about this foxglove. You know, people always want white ones rather than mixed, although I love mixed. To tell which the white ones are when they're seedlings, you simply take one of the leaves off and you look at the back of the leaf, and if it's completely white and completely without pink, you're going to get a white plant.
Wow.
So you can make a whole group of white foxgloves. So if you look at the back of the pink ones, there'll be a faint flush of pink. Do you see down the bottom there? So that's all white on the midrib, the back, and all pink on the midrib at the back. So you know when they're very small seedlings what colour they're going to be.
Wherever you go, one colour jumps out at you. This garden, it seems, has a bad case of the blues.
Blue paint is everywhere in this garden, but do you know where it comes from?
It comes from La Majorelle Garden in Marrakesh, the Yves Saint Laurent Garden.
Yeah, that's right. But how did it get to these islands?
I would like to know.
Somebody recreated La Margerelle at the Chelsea Flower Show in 1993. I went along, was about to do a television show, used it, stole the idea, used it in a garden, and Titchmarsh picked it up.
So now you're knocking it flat.
I'm knocking it flat anyway because I don't think it works. I was wrong. Titchmarsh was wrong. Yves Saint Laurent, he got it right.
He got it right because he had different light.
He had taste.
And taste is an issue for Helen when it comes to Richard's recycled white gates.
And the white there's jumping out at me, the white of the gate.
We don't need to be invited in that gate. The trail does that. The ferns do
Yeah,
that.
the wild wood isn't asking us in.
Do you know, if you gave me a day, a skip, I could improve this garden just by removing things.
And if you give me £100, I'll remove him. This water is absolutely beautifully done. You can't see a sniff of the edge. You can't see any plastic or anything like that. All the water lilies are in flight. But
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. It's so enchanting. Except for that red thing, which to me means pure suburbia.
The most unique aspect of the garden is to be found in the Fairyland Forest.
Well, this is just heaven.
Just the feel of it. I should think to walk on this with bare feet
I
must be wonderfully cool.
Well, this is a moss garden.
This is wonderful.
In the Orient, this would be highly prized.
This is so heavenly.
Heaven, except I see another Titchmarsh blue chair.
I think you do. You know, Dermot, I think it'd be awfully nice without this path.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't need it.
The paths are lined with Beverly's hand-built dry stone walls, but Helen and Dermot aren't sure about them.
Oh,
Is the problem with this, is it because it's a bit too higgledy-piggledy? Do we need it?
no need for all these stone walls. This is a rustic woodland. It's been carved out of a woodland. Have you ever seen a nicer tree than this oak? No. So therefore you don't need to define the space around it. It's almost sinful. Do Do you know what the point of these bridges were?
What was it the point about it?
It's an Oriental design from Chinese and then Japanese gardens. And the point was they were quite steep walking up. So you stopped to catch your breath.
Yeah.
And you looked right and left and admired the view. And then you walked down carefully.
Well, who lives here? What sort of person lives here?
The king of the fairies.
And the queen of the fairies.
They're not afraid of hard work. They've explored the best that a rather difficult site had to offer.
It's absolutely heavenly.
But they used to live in suburbia.
And maybe they learnt it from watching bad television gardening programmes, such as you and I would be involved in.
What are you trying to say?
Maybe they learnt it from that.
What are you trying to say, Helen Dillon?
Well, possibly. And perhaps if they hadn't seen any bad television gardening programmes, they wouldn't have done all that.
Oh, go away, would you? Looking forward to this.
Finally, it's time to meet the owners.
Lovely to meet you.
Well, utterly enchanted with the garden. 99.8% of it. And how do you make that wonderful green moss?
It's just sort of growing naturally, I think, by trimming and then blowing the leaves off on a regular basis. It's just growing naturally, and it is very pretty.
It's terrible.
Lovely green colour.
We feel you've really gone with what likes to grow here, and you've made the best of what likes to grow here. And you've repeated plants, and that settles the eye.
It does. It's beautifully settled. One thing, we didn't terribly like the blue, was one of the things.
Who was a fan of Alan Titchmarsh?
We've been watching Ground Force on a series link in the other room.
You were right. Maybe you've introduced notes of suburbia into this place that shouldn't be here. The stonework also. What do you like about that?
It gives me something to do, and I like jigsaw puzzles, and it creates a bit of a boundary to divide the garden, but also keep it together, if that makes sense.
On the other hand, if you hadn't done it in areas,
You needed to do it to
you wouldn't
begin
have
with.
created that picture.
But then, now it's matured. Some of those woodland areas are heaven. But it just, to my eye, one might take some of the stones away.
Okay.
Our final garden is also in the countryside, this time near Kells in County Antrim. The garden has been created around a river and a stunning modern home. Both garden and house have been masterminded by the owner, architect Jane Burnside, with low maintenance in mind.
My husband and I both work full-time, and I have 2 teenage sons, and, well, they're not that enthusiastic about garden maintenance, but they do help. So with that in mind, we had to make the garden practical. So the woodland area is all barked and membrane down, so I can deal with the weeds with herbicides.
As an architect, Jane is very conscious that the house and garden should work together.
Now with changes in technology, you can get that connection between inside and outside. So it becomes even more important that when you are sitting at your table and looking out at your garden, that you're looking out at something. I like having my coffee break out on the big oak logs. You get the sound of the water, you get the morning sun there, and if I'm lucky, my 3 wild ducks will come and join me.
So, is Jane looking forward to a visit from our 2 horticultural heroes?
I think Dermot will probably like the more contemporary side, but would probably have wanted to be much more extravagant. And Helen would probably like the more traditional side and all the sort of luscious tropical feel that we've created there. That would be my guess.
Well, let's find out.
I love the surrounding trees.
A very contemporary home.
I find this wonderfully rural out there. Well, this, I find the planting a bit, I hesitate to say this, a bit kind of roundabouty.
It is, and yet...
Hold on. This is my deadly enemy.
Absolutely awful. Awful.
Horrible
awful,
stuff.
awful.
And you could just imagine that kind of landscaper who goes up to the house and says, "Madam, I can get rid of all these weeds for you, no trouble at all. Spread down this horrible plasticky stuff, and then you spread this on top,
Yeah.
which won't rot properly because it's not in contact with the ground.
And it's too dry.
And you cannot avoid seeing it. Look at it, how ugly it is. I mean, it takes away the illusion. You can see it everywhere coming
It's
up.
that whole thing, what people want, low-maintenance gardening, soulless gardening.
And if you've got dogs particularly, when a dog goes to the loo, the stuff sits on the surface forever.
So, first impressions aren't great, but very soon things start looking up.
Immediately you get over here, you're welcomed to sit down on these wonderful
I love this.
benches.
I love this bench.
And that's so pretty. Look at the gunnerer, the lysichitum, all the hostas, and this beautiful watercourse and the ducks.
But then you get over into suburbia a bit there. A little bit there.
Yeah, that's terribly depressing. There's some really choice planting there, judicious planting. Here, it's just...
I mean, the scale of what's over there is perfect for the landscape. But this is spotty dotty.
It's a mixed bag, isn't it? That convolvulus is good, and the box
I
is
have
good,
to say, I think the convolvulus is brilliant.
Yeah,
Beautiful specimen, lovely silvery leaves.
rare to see them that nice.
This is a plant that must have full sun. It must have good drainage. It wants sun all day. It just doesn't want 2 hours in the morning. It wants from 6 to 8 hours.
And let me
What have you found
explain why. Have a look at that leaf, and what makes that leaf silver or grey is that it's covered in millions of tiny hairs.
there? Millions of tiny hairs.
And that indicates that it comes from a very sunny place because the hairs stop water evaporation. So
And they protect it from hot sun. So that's a clue that this is a sun-loving plant, comes from the Mediterranean. On no account shove it under a tree because it won't look like that.
really, really good.
The riverbank is crowded with healthy ferns, skunk cabbage and gunnera.
Nice view from here.
Yeah.
You're not sure?
It's my least favourite aspect of the house.
No, I've suddenly seen the reflection. Isn't that rather good?
Yes.
And then we've got this lovely primula here. People think of primulas as little things.
And little beautiful things sweet things that you see in fields in
Exactly.
the early spring.
Yeah, March. But it's a water-loving primula, and when it's fully out, it'll be up to about here. Beautiful primrose yellow. So if you've got a really damp waterside place, this would be blissfully happy and naturalise itself. This is a true species. If you went to the Himalayas, you'd be finding that precise plant growing in the wild exactly like that.
Compared to most plants in this garden, you've got off very lightly.
The other side of the house shows the full scale of Jane's vision.
What I love here is the transition between the plain, large terrace there, and then instead of going straight into the grass, it has that beautiful, beautiful panel with the white edge. I absolutely love it.
And the cloud of sage, purple
Beautifully done.
sage around
Beautifully done.
there. It's slightly Ibiza-like, isn't it?
Is it?
I think it's slightly stylish
It's certainly stylish.
and slightly cold for our climate.
Yeah, but when the sun comes out, it'll be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, but therein lies the problem.
What do you think about the birches so close to the house?
I love them. You have to be slightly brave because the roots of birch are surface. Some of them go along the surface. They will probably invade some of that lawn in time, and they may even lift some paving. I still think it's worth doing.
I think they're exquisite.
Exquisite. What's my issue here then?
Yes, what is the issue?
It's
Get your issue first and then start arguing.
too show housey.
Too show housey.
perfect.
I think it's lovely housey.
100 metres from the front of the house, Jane has managed to hang on to two magnificent old oaks.
The secret to this whole landscape are these bowls that have been carved out.
But you see, it's so clever, as you know, but not everybody else does, that if you change the level of soil around a tree, you kill it, because it rots the bark, kills the tree ultimately, this beautiful oak. Therefore, it's so clever to have made that shallow bowl for the tree to live in, which hasn't affected the level around the tree, and then raised up the soil well out here, which doesn't matter. And it's just perfect, because it looks beautiful,
It looks
apart from being
beautiful.
perfect for keeping the tree alive.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting, subtle indentation on the landscape.
Isn't it?
But so welcoming when you see it.
Well, what sort of person do you think lives here, Delbert?
This house screams design.
Does it
Every
just?
inch is planned.
Did you say there might be an architect?
I think there's an architect thing.
I think there's an architect somewhere in
There's
here.
A's for architect everywhere. Let's go and meet them.
Hello, Helen.
Jane.
I'm very, very pleased to meet you.
Ditto.
Hey, Jane Dermot.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
This is a great treat, particularly the house and the birches planted among it. I adore it.
Oh, well, thank you, thank you. Oh, I'm very pleased with the birches. It blends the house and the garden quite nicely together.
Sorry, I was saying I absolutely adore that plain panel of grass there with the white edge. I think it's heavenly.
Well, that's my swimming pool.
So I heard.
This is my wee bit of Ibiza here. So instead of having the perfect infinity edge swimming pool, I've got the Irish version, which is the
Infinity lawn.
Infinity lawn.
We love the natural planting around and the introduced trees. Some of the other planting jars, we feel.
All right, okay.
A royal way.
Look, she's a lovely smile. A lovely smile. It's so beautiful, this bit.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't quite go with some of the plants, say, at the entrance as you come down the drive there.
Yes,
They look sort of like they don't really belong here.
Yes. Well, the bit coming down the drive, the peninsula bed, as we call it, I love it because when I drive in, I've got this carpety, woodlandy colour.
When you mention woodland, I think of ferns popping up and maybe some native bluebells and whatever. Not these traffic lights kind of, you know, on and off blinking at you. Whereas your background, the water course, and
It's
here,
so beautiful.
I'm in heaven.
Oh, well, I'm glad you love it.
Absolutely love it.
So, 3 fantastic gardens that anyone would be proud of. But which one will Dermot and Helen decide is the best? Using classic judging criteria of design, planting and good gardening practice, Dermot and Helen will try to come up with a winner. First, Jane's contemporary slice of Ibiza.
Here was somebody with a vision. She reinvented an Irish cottage and created a garden from Ibiza to match it. And then she contrasted with the natural landscape beyond. The planting, unfortunately, was the aspect of this garden that really let it down for me.
I was afraid it was very Parks to Pop.
What about the second garden, Richard and Beverly's Fairyland, with splashes of Titchmarsh blue?
I loved stepping into their world, delving deep into their world. There were areas that weren't quite there for me. I think if you're going to be that good, you can do something with that driveway. And I also think some of the meandering stone walls, we just didn't need them. There were so many beautiful
It was so
places.
beautiful without them. I mean, bearing in mind that they started from nothing, I think they're doing extraordinarily well.
Finally, they considered Dawn's multi-chambered Hillsborough paradise.
I absolutely loved it. I love the way it was all hung on the series of arches. I love the excitement of entering one room after another and having different things.
Well, I just thought this was the most perfect garden. But there was one extraordinary thing which swings it for me in Dawn's favour. When we went down towards the end of the garden and we saw sight of that gunnera and you dug through the moist mulch, and that's what was feeding that.
She really knows what she's doing, that girl.
She knows
really
what she's doing. Well done, Dawn.
So congratulations then to our winner, Dawn Mitchell, edging it against some very high-quality competition.
Wonderful, thank you.
Well done to Dawn. We've really enjoyed seeing some more wonderful gardens. See you next time. Goodbye.
See you.
Behind Northern Ireland's streets and fences lie some amazing hidden gardens. Private spaces with passionate owners open just a few days a year. Now, 2 top gardening experts, Dermot Gavin and Helen Dillon, are going to be searching for the best. They'll be looking for great design,
This is the Contented garden,
It's a gin and tonic garden, isn't it?
isn't it?
beautiful planting,
It's a bit kind of roundabouty.
That's terribly depressing.
and great gardening practice.
Oh, this is heaven.
This is my deadly enemy.
Absolutely awful.
As the nervous owners wait inside for the verdict.
Hopefully they'll be kind to us.
I'm anxious about what they think about my planting and my choice, and do they think I'm totally mad?
This time, 3 gardens created out of nothing.
If you gave me a skip, I could improve this garden.
I'm afraid it was very Parks Department.
So, which garden will be best? First stop is the Georgian town centre of Hillsborough in County Down. Today, the high street is deserted. There's a special visit looming.
They have the bunting out. I knew you were coming.
No, they put it up for you, Dermot. I know that.
They've put it up for the Queen. What are you trying to say?
That's why there's not much traffic.
She likes her garden, does the Queen.
She loves gardening. Isn't that nice? Gardening and racing.
Through an ordinary high street art